Oh, Mr. Agent of Doubt and your unpopular opinions, which you just put online to court controversy a la Milo Yiannopoulos. I like your style, sir. Anyway, it's great to be back in the UK. I'm getting some energy back, and I really liked the first one of those that you said. You said, why don't bands change their name when somebody who's key to the picture leaves? And I had a few thoughts just fired off straight away. Artistically, I think, yes, I think you're totally right. The band name or whatever is those few individuals that come together to produce a certain amount of music, and everything that's created is that fusion of those four guys. However, there are other factors in there as well. And even if the same members do stay together for years, the band changes anyway. So it's not just the actual members; it's the point that they are in their lives, all the circumstances and the pressures on them. So, for example, I can think of a couple bands where it didn't really make that much difference who was in it. I think what you're getting at is the important bit of the band, the thing that made the band what you liked, changes. But take something like Dire Straits. Really, that's about Mark Knopfler. And you could put, I really liked his drummer Pick Withers, who I don't think was the original drummer, but really the band was him. He was the main singer and the main guitarist, and that's why we turned up to watch him, and he was brilliant and amazing. And really, if we're honest, you could throw, as long as they were competent musicians, you could throw anyone around him and it would still be Dire Straits. So there's an example of where I don't think it mattered. But if you look at the music, it changed over time as technology changed, and as he got into more expensive guitars and more expensive sounds, and from Sultans of Swing, which is just a basic Strat through a plexi or whatever combo, right through to when he's doing Money for Nothing in the 80s with all the advanced techno whiz and Les Pauls and boutique Strats and PRS guitars, stuff he could never have afforded in the early days. Another example of what you said, there was the band Yes, a supergroup, and I didn't really follow them, but I do know at one point, the original members had split off, and each formed different versions of the band with, members came and went, and then the original guys actually formed different groups, all called Yes, and would still tour as Yes, but in this group you might have Steve Hackett and a couple of others. In this other group you'd have whoever the other people were, and both would tour as the group Yes. Crazy. What about Fleetwood Mac, who started off as Peter Green's blues band kind of thing, very raw, and then had their incarnation in the 80s, with the likes of Rumours, Tango in the Night. Totally different band, but with the same name. One of the reason I think most things don't do what you say would be ideal is, if you've signed a really fat record deal with a big record company to produce 5 albums, and 2 albums in someone leaves, well, that entity is still responsible to produce 3 more albums, plus all the money that's gone into marketing it and promoting it and selling out the venues. For them to just start again kind of negates all that influence and money that's been put in. You probably already know this. You're talking from an artistic point of view, I get it. I was just kind of responding as to why practically it doesn't happen. In 92, or was it 90, a song that changed my life and really made me want to be a musician was Two Princes by the band The Spin Doctors. I've since made great friends with the bass player out of that group, and have met them all many times. But by the time I saw them in 92 or 94, guitarist who created that riff that had such an impact on me, he'd left. He was gone. They'd written a new album and were on tour in England, and I didn't actually see the original lineup. Show was great, by the way, and I loved it, and I was, all the things that a young lad should get from going to a concert, it's like, wow, my mind's blown, etc. So it wasn't really until 2012, I think it was, when the lineup got back again, Various people had quit, but the original lineup came back together again, and I actually saw them, and now they're kind of, I don't know, in their 50s, but there was the original lineup. However, you know, obviously they're tied into contracts and have to deliver all this tours and all this stuff, so they carry on. Looking back, I don't know if it was because I was of a certain age and I wasn't a musician, etc., but the lineup that I saw in the 90s, I actually preferred that show to seeing the originals again, which is you know, a bit of a confession there. And then you have bands like Kiss, who were a huge phenomenon, and really everyone liked Peter Criss, the Cat drummer, and Ace Frehley, the astronaut spaceman, and both of those were fired and left at different points because of different substance abuses. But even had they stayed, if you listen to, say, Dynasty, or even I'm trying to remember, Destroyer, they'd gone from being people that really couldn't play instruments but could give everything in a live show, to having Bob Ezrin come in and produce huge string arrangements and orchestral stuff, and a lot more kind of, I mean, they were still who they were, but now this music was not the same as, say, Firehouse from the original, you know, cuts. So really, it doesn't even matter if the guys stay together or not. You can't recreate someone who's, you know, got no money and it just turned in their early 20s and has all this things to get out. You can't stay there forever. Rage Against the Machine, I know they've done a few comeback tours, but you're kind of sitting there thinking, being angry at the system and having all, you can't mature and stay that angry young kid that was so successful. It just doesn't happen. So I think there's a lot more to it than just who's in the band. I think the context of, you know, where they're at in their lives and what's going on is a massive issue, and there's a practical reason why you can't just swap names. I mean, I did think something similar to yourself. I mean, my situation, for example, you know, when I was touring in 2009, 2010, was that you know, especially in the world music scene, good players are always poached, and you know, they need to make their money and make their living. So I did call it Mr. World Music. So I could feasibly turn up with different musicians depending on who was available, and really the thing was about me and whoever I invited. And I think the same is with the likes of Van Halen. I know David Lee Roth was so important, but really it's about him and going widdly diddly diddly. Unless, of course, you are a massive, you know, big fan and pay real attention to it all. I think seeing what Van Halen did, it's his band, that's why it's called Van Halen. Anyway, that did tickle me, sir, and I think, I don't know if that would be unpopular or not, but it drew something out in me. So thank you, Mr. Agent of Doubt. I hope you've had a happy new year. Well done on the Mountain Dew. I had no idea it was a sugar-filled drink. I thought it was a diet one. But anyway, you're obviously doing very, very well. So speak soon, sir, and you take care, innit it?